Right. So welcome everybody. Again, my name is Nicole and I work for Trusted. I am the head of community. And if you're not familiar with Trusted, we are the place for the modern nurse. We place nurses in travel assignments across the country, and we also have an incredible wealth of career resources. We have events, blog articles, podcasts, you name it, we have it for you, the modern nurse. And tonight we're really honored to partner with the California Nursing Student Association to host this really special event for nursing new grads. And without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to our slides and pass it along. Actually, I lied. I'm going to tell you two more things. So number one, you're going to ask questions through Zoom chat. So if you have questions, burning questions for our two amazing speaker nurses, go ahead and put them through Zoom chat. And Ella, our product marketing manager, give a wave, Ella. Hello, Ella. She will gather your questions and she will share them directly with the speakers when we have time for questions. Second one, listen, learn, and connect. And the third, get inspired to get hired. Yes, I'm a poet and I know it. So agenda, very quick. We're gonna do a welcome, which I already did. We're gonna talk about standing out with Ashley Haugstatter. We're gonna talk about getting hired and thriving in your position with Tiffany Gibson. We're gonna talk about new grad tools with Ella, that I just mentioned. And then we're gonna close it out. And there'll be lots of opportunities for you to ask questions and connect with other nurses. So now, promise this time, without further ado, I introduce you to Ashley Haugstatter. And she's frozen. She's coming back. The beauty of technology. Y'all can hear me, right? Great. How about I introduce Ashley until she comes back? Does that sound good? I'll do that. So Ashley Haugstatter is a manager of nursing relations and retention at Crouse Health. She's a former pediatric ICU nurse and the founder of the Nurse Mentor. If you don't follow her on the social channels, you absolutely should. She's currently in nursing leadership focused on recruitment, retention, and the recognition of nurses and students. And fun fact, which I learned about her months ago, which I think is absolutely incredible and adorable, she built and lived in a 345 square foot tiny home during college. And there's the two pieces below. And I think we're just going to move forward. And when Ashley comes back, Tiffany, you can help me out and we can go from there.
That's fine. Do you want to go ahead to my section?
Wait, Nicole, I'm here.
You're here. You're back. Awesome. I introduced you, Ashley. You froze.
I heard you were doing a great job. I'm so sorry about that. I don't think that could have.
You're going to let the non-nerds do the presentation. We're all good. I introduced you, Ashley, and we talked about your adorable tiny home that you lived in during college. Is there anything else you wanted to add that perhaps I didn't add?
Oh, no, I'm sure you did wonderfully. Normally I have a secure internet connection. Today I don't.
It's life. We're all good.
That's life. All right, so I'll jump in here if you're good, Nicole.
Please, yes.
All right, so hi everybody. Sorry that I ducked out for a second. As Nicole so kindly introduced me, my name is Ashley, and as she said, I am the manager of nursing relations and retention at Crouse. So I work with lots of nurses and lots of nursing students on exactly what we're going to be going through today. So just this kind of journey, transitioning from nursing student into professional nurse. So I call myself a nurse leader, a mentor, and most importantly, a motivator. I like to say that I am a nurse cheerleader and a nurse for the nurses. And so when I work with people, I really try to let them know, I want to see you reach your potential. And even more than that, I want every nurse to know what is possible for them and believe that they're capable of achieving it. Because I think for me, throughout my nursing career, sometimes I didn't know what opportunities were out there. Me and Nicole were just talking about sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so it's really important that you have those individuals in your lives that are able to kind of turn the lights on for you so that you can see all the different doors that are available to you at any given time. Speaking of doors, one of my favorite quotes I have over here, and it's start before you're ready. The doors will be open to those who are bold enough to knock. So a lot of the opportunities that I've gotten throughout my career have not necessarily come across me very easily. I've had to go for them and, suffer from a little bit of imposter syndrome. And, it can be really challenging, but when you're bold enough to knock, you get that opportunity that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. So I always encourage people to just take that first couple steps. You got it. All right, so we're going to do a quick poll, just kind of read the room and see where you guys are at. How are you feeling with your current job search? Polls are rolling in. So this one's our, oh, okay. Coming in, coming in. All right. So, and this one is our mentorship question. So Tiff is going to cover our mentorship portion a little bit later, and it looks like a lot of you guys are looking for one. You don't know how to find one. That's perfect. Tiffany is going to go over that in just a little bit. And so Nicole, do you want to run the job search one too? Okay, let's do this one. So how are you feeling about your current job search? There we go. I feel like I can already kind of tell where most people are going to fall. Oh, these answers are coming in real quick. People are like, Let's see. All right. So we have a couple people are feeling awesome, but most people are feeling a combination of all of the above. And I totally hear that, you guys. This process at baseline can be overwhelming. It can be frustrating, anxiety inducing. For most people, this is a major transition in their life, whether it is, their first career that they're coming into, or if it's a career change for you. But obviously we're going through a different time right now, and the pandemic is just adding on another layer of difficulty. But that being said, I want you guys to take heart. There are ways to get the opportunities that you are looking for. By the end of this presentation today, we are all hoping that you are going to feel empowered and inspired and motivated to take on your job search and to be able to get the opportunities that you want, even if the path might look a little bit different than you imagined. It might take a little longer, it might be in a different location, but we've got lots of strategies and tips and tricks for you. So let's jump into it. So first, we are just going to talk a little bit about applying and our first steps. So a lot of my students, they'll come to me and they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know what I want to do. I don't even know what I'm looking for, what kind of unit I want to work on. And so this is where I encourage everybody to start. And I joke with people all the time. I know that the reflection part of like the care plan is everyone's like, oh my gosh, like this part annoys me, but it's so, so important to do some reflection and to know what is important to you, so that when you start your job search, you start it with a goal in mind. Now, we'll talk about the different categories in just a second, but, for some of you guys, you're going to start out very narrow. Some of you might know right now exactly what you want to do, what shift you want to work, what facility you're looking for, but especially given the current circumstances, you might start this job search and then need to broaden it a little bit. And that's okay. But for the first, couple searches that you're doing, the first couple applications, keep it focused to what you want, so that, if you can get what you're looking for, if you can reach that goal, that's what we want for you. So take a little bit of time to reflect on what you're looking for. And so that can include things like patient population. So here you're going to think back to clinical. Did you love your pediatrics clinical? Were you in love with critical care? Some of us, we do our med surg and adults rotation, and we're like, I never want to touch an adult patient ever again. That was me. When I went into peds, I'm like, yeah, that adult's not for me. So, and again, for some of you, you might say, yeah, I really love to start off with moms and babies. And so, maybe you're looking for labor and delivery, but maybe at first you can get onto an antepartum postpartum unit. So try and narrow that patient population down a little bit if you can. Next, think about shift you want to work. This is one of those ones that most people remain fairly flexible on. They might lean more towards one way or the other, but in general, maybe if they can get the patient population that they want, they'll take a different shift. That's how it was for me. I knew that I wanted to work in pediatric critical care, and I was certainly willing to work night shift if I had to, but I'm a day person. I'm a grandma and I go to sleep at 9 p.m. So night shift is not my jam. But like I said, I would totally do it to get into the PICU. You also want to think about type of facility, right? So there's everything from an academic medical center to a smaller community hospital, and then out to like a critical access hospital. So you're going to want to look at, what the different types of facilities that are out there and which one is right for you. And there are positives and negatives to all of them. And you just want to think about what is going to match you the best. You're also going to want to think about the culture. This one's a big one, and it's one that you should not ever be flexible on. Culture, you're looking for, do I have coworkers that are supportive? Do I have a manager that is supportive? Somewhere that's going to give me opportunities for professional development. And, if I want to move up the ladder, I have those available to me. So you really want to research a culture of a hospital and then of the unit that you're going to as well. And sometimes that can be difficult if you've never been there, or if you're moving or something like that. But we'll kind of talk about in a second where like informational interviews or networking can kind of help you glean a couple of those things. And you also want to think about your future goals. So where do you want to be 3, 5, 10 years from now? And how is this first role going to help get you there? So for some people, they'll come to me and they'll say, well, I know that, I would really like to be, a CRNA down the road. And so their goal initially might be to start off in a strong critical care unit that's going to give them that background to be able to be successful in school, to get their CCRN certification and to move forward onto, their master's level or doctorate level education. So lots of things, to think of, and I always encourage people, take a big piece of paper, go find your favorite pen, because we all have them, and start getting this stuff down on paper so that you have it. And then when you actually have, start that job search, you're going to have, lots to work with, things to, filter and look for. And then once you're actually starting your job search, this is where a lot of people also get stuck. Where do I find jobs? Where can I, look for things? Or maybe where to find jobs, but you're kind of hitting a wall and you're getting stuck. And I want you, so we're going to go through a couple, different methods that we can use. And I suggest using a multitude of methods in your job search. And we're kind of going to go in, passive to active order here. So the first way that most people go about this is by utilizing job boards. So Indeed, the American Nurses Association Career Center, Monster, or Career Builder. So lots of different job boards out there where you can kind of go on there and type in critical care nurse, and you're going to get a plethora of opportunities that are going to pop up. Those are great, and those should absolutely be, utilized, but that's a more passive way of applying, right? So the job is posted there, you apply to it, and you wait to hear back for a response. Similarly, but requiring a little bit more effort, is going to be going on to a hospital's actual career website. So depending on where you're looking to apply, you want to know what the major player hospitals are in any given area. And then once you do, you're going to want to go onto their website, find their actual career page, and start looking up the positions that they have posted there and that are available. Most of them do have their jobs pull over to something like Indeed, but a couple of them don't. So it's always important to be checking those as well. Another awesome place to look for new graduate opportunities in particular is Trusted's residency program search. So this is an awesome tool, and Ella is going to talk about it a little bit later today. And it's a great opportunity to see where are those different residency programs located, and what do I need to do to apply. And a lot of people, that's what they're looking for when they're starting out, is a residency program that's going to give them that extra support. Because that's really important when you're starting. You have, not just your on-unit orientation, you also have some classes and some resources. And so it's a great place to start. So that's an awesome tool for you guys to use, and Ella will go through that. Now moving forward into some more active ways to apply to different places and to find jobs. So the one that I recommend very highly is LinkedIn. So sometimes nurses don't think of LinkedIn as, you know, their first place to go for jobs. Some people think of it more as like the business sector or human resources or, you know, something like that. But LinkedIn is a great place for nurses to be. And I recommend for all of you guys, if you aren't on there yet, that is your homework for today, is to go on and to create a strong LinkedIn profile. So on there, you're going to be able to just see positions posted just like any other job board. But the way that I want you guys to utilize LinkedIn is in a more active way. So going on there, and if you, again, you know what facility you want to work at, I want you to go on there and find nurses that work on that unit that you're looking for or in that facility. And I want you to connect with them. So that's like friending somebody on Facebook. You can connect with somebody on LinkedIn. And when you do that, I don't want it to be just a passive connect. There's a little note box that you can write in when you do connect with somebody. And I want you to put a meaningful message in there to this person, asking, you know, doing a call to action to them. So, you know, saying, hey there, I really love, you know, your career progression. It really impresses me. Could we hop on a call so that I could learn a little bit about how you got to where you are? That is huge for people. Most nurses and most nurse mentors, you know, they love to chat with other nurses about how they got to where they are, and they would be really, really happy to help you. So that is a great way to network, especially in the climate that we're in right now, because we can't utilize in-person networking like we normally would. But this is a great way to connect with people, you know, at your local hospital, or if you're looking to move across the country, to connect with those people. And, you know, so you can do it with staff nurses. You can also try to find the nurse manager. And again, maybe ask her for an informational interview just to learn a little bit more about the unit and what the culture is like and what she or he is like. That can really help you get a lot of information. And when you're doing this, you know, you're not asking about, you know, hey, I want to work for you. How do we make that happen? You're asking for something a little bit different. But you're still getting your name out there to them. You're letting them know that you're interested. And importantly, you're showing them something about you just by doing this. And that's that you're resourceful, you're flexible, and that you take initiative. You don't stop at just the passive applications. You're going for it. You're in it. You're invested, and you know what steps to take to get what you're looking for. Nurses have to do that every day. So you're advocating for yourself in this instance, just like you would for a patient. And so even, you know, like I said, we can't really network like we normally would right now, but that's not to say that you can't still network with people that you already have. And lots of nurses will say to me like, well, Ashley, like, I don't really have a network. That's not really, I'm a nurse. Like, that's not a thing. But you do. I promise you do have a network. We all went to nursing school, so you have a plethora of people that have been there for you. So whether that's your clinical instructors, your professors, the nurses that you worked with during your clinical rotations, your alumni center, your school's career office. You actually know so many people, but the trick of it is that you actually have to reach out to them and build relationships and build connections with them. And this is not easy to do, but it really, really pays off. So that's something that can be really, really helpful for people too. So those are the different methods that I have for you guys in terms of the actual job search. And then moving forward, so you found, you know, your jobs and you're ready to apply. Now, how do you stand out? How do you set yourself apart to land an interview? And so some of that is just going to come along with the regular application process, right? You really want to optimize your application. And so what I mean by that is when you're on there and you're applying, you want to make sure that all parts of your application are perfectly filled out, and that you're, you know, putting in all of the information that, you know, they want from you. You want to make it very clear. You know, you can use acronyms and like full, you know, fully done, you know, sentences. So if you're like putting in a previous position, you want to put intensive care ICU on there. You want to put, Master of Science or Bachelor of Science, BSN. The reason for that is that a lot of the computer systems that big hospitals use are actually going to parse out information from your application and your resume to bring over to the recruiter. And they also score your resume and application based on different keywords and things that you're putting in your application and your resume. So you want to make sure that you're, checking all of those boxes for them, and that your application lands on the top of the pile, that it gets a good score and that it gets through the system with the relevant information. You also want to customize your resume and cover letter for every position that you're applying to. I know that this is really cumbersome. It can be really annoying and time consuming, but again, it's one of those investments that can really pay off, because you want to, again, put those keywords in there that make sense for the job that you're applying to. Another way to customize is by looking at the hospital's mission, vision, and values, or something special about the unit. So maybe they've gotten a Beacon Award on that unit, or maybe the hospital is magnet, and you've taken notice of that, and that's one of the reasons that you want to work there. A hospital, recruiter is going to notice that and say, okay, they've done their homework. They're looking to work at, this particular facility, and that's going to put you, again, more at the top of the pile. It's going to help you to stand out. Another way, more active way, is by connecting with leadership. So again, if there's any way that you can get your hands on the email of a hiring manager for a unit, you can actually send them an email directly with, either your cover letter and a resume, or a request, again, for like an informational interview or just a chat with them. This is how I landed my first job in the PICU, was by sending my resume and my cover letter directly to the manager, and letting them know that I was really interested in working on their unit, and setting up just a little, meeting with her. And she never ended up answering me, but this position was at an academic medical center where there were a ton of nursing schools around, and there was really nothing so special on my resume to help me stand out, but I got it directly to the person. So my thought is that, when she went to look back at the application, she said, oh, Ashley, I remember her. I read her resume and her cover letter. I'm going to pick her out of this bunch. Because otherwise I couldn't tell you anything particularly special that would make me stand out next to other candidates. So it can be really, really important to actually get your foot in the door by connecting with a leader, whether that's a manager or a charge nurse or something like that, so that they can connect a face to a name with an application. Going along with that, for some people, this isn't going to be possible right now because of COVID, but I know my hospital is taking shadows right now. So if you can set up a shadow experience by reaching out to human resources, or again, to a hiring manager, and being able to actually go to the unit to shadow, this is going to be the best way to kind of see what is the culture of a unit. And they can get to know you as well. And this is a great time to show them that you're an amazing team member, that you ask great questions, that you take initiative, that you're compassionate, all of those things that they're looking for in a candidate. They'll know that you bring that to the table from that shadow experience. And then the last way, attend a career fair. And again, we know that right now we're not doing that normally because of COVID, but you should still be on the lookout for these. I know that a lot of schools are still holding them virtually. We just did one the other day from my hospital with Binghamton University, so they are still happening. So do make sure that you're looking out for those so that you can take that opportunity if it becomes available to you.
So we have a bunch of questions for Ashley. Ella, do you mind reading out a few to Ashley?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ashley, one of the first questions we received was from Bibiana, and she asks, what is your advice for standing out to nursing students still in school in their last semester as they look for their first job?
Sorry, Ella, can you say it one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any tips for how to stand out before you graduate as a nurse when you're applying for that first job?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I recommend to people is to actually join like a nursing professional organization. So this can be either American Nurses Association, or if you are looking for a job in a particular specialty, so say pediatrics, for example, you can join a pediatric nursing association like Society of Pediatric Nurses. This is going to do two things for you. It's a great way to network and meet other nursing professionals that are already in that that field and already doing, you know, that job that you want to do. And putting it on your resume is going to show, you know, a hiring manager that you're interested in leadership, again, that you take initiative to go above and beyond, and that you're dedicated to professional development. So that can really set you apart from your peers.
Awesome. We have another question from Laura asking, what are any red flags or ways to assess if a job or facility has a good culture?
Yeah, that is a great question. You know, the best way to do that is to get to the source, kind of like I was saying before. If it's at all possible for you to get in there and shadow and actually, you know, watch what the dynamic is like between team members, between the charge nurse and the nurses, and also between the physicians and the nurses, that is really, really huge, because over, you know, say a 4 to 8 hour span of time, you're going to be able to see a lot more and really be able to kind of see that dynamic, because you can ask those questions in an interview, you know, say, oh, tell me about the culture of your unit. But we all know that an answer for that can be prepared, and that sometimes reality isn't the same as, you know, how somebody is going to answer a question like that. So if you can get on that unit to shadow, that's awesome. If not, again, another great way is to, you know, on LinkedIn, find a nurse that works on the unit and ask them, say, hey, tell me about the culture on this unit. Do you guys do stuff together as a team? Is there team building activities? You know, do the physicians value your opinions? Do you get to present at rounds? You really want to go straight to the source so that you can get a valid answer to that question, because otherwise it's definitely really challenging.
Awesome. We have a question from Ami that asks, do you have any suggestions or tips for new grad nurses who have prior work experience or volunteer experience, but not necessarily in healthcare or working in nursing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell my students all the time, and this was, you know, the same for me. I went through an accelerated nursing program, so I wasn't able to get like a nursing assistant job or a sitter job or anything. And the only experience that I had before was from retail and serving. But that is the next thing that hiring managers are going to look for on a nurse's resume. What you want to do is take any positions that you've had before, and you want to think about the skills that you gained in that role and how you can transfer those over to nursing. So think anything like communication, teamwork, customer service, leadership, prioritization, time management. These are all transferable skills that you're going to use over in the nursing world. And so when you're writing your resume, when you're doing your bullet points, that's really what you want to highlight is, you know, what skills did I gain? How did I use them there? And how can I bring them to the table in this nursing job? Because we all kind of think as nursing as this very, you know, specific skill set, but a lot of nurse managers will tell you, as far as the actual tasks can go, I can teach you the tasks, but I can't teach you how to be a good team member. I can't teach you how to come in and have a positive, enthusiastic attitude. And so that's really the stuff that you want to highlight, and that's what's going to make you, you know, stand out without any healthcare experience.
Awesome. That's really great advice. All right, one last question for this section before we move on to Tiffany. This question is from Riley, and he asks, what are your thoughts on starting in adult care and then transferring to peds? He's currently looking, he or she's looking to get into peds, but peds hospitals aren't hiring in their area.
Sure. Yeah, we're experiencing the same thing right now in Syracuse. The pediatric hospital here isn't hiring. So a lot of people are turning towards adult units. And that is perfectly fine. If you are ready for a job right now and you don't want to wait and you don't want to move, absolutely, you know, go into a med surg position and get those foundational skills, you know, in terms of actual, you know, tasks and just getting to know what it means to be a nurse on a floor in terms of communicating with other team members and things like that. Once you get experience, it is very easy to transfer to another floor, especially within the same hospital. So my only suggestion with that would be if you can get a position where you would be easily able to transfer to peds. You know, if it's maybe like a combined hospital, that's how our pediatric hospital is here. It's combined with a major medical center. And then you're able to do an intra-hospital transfer, which gives you a leg up because you're coming from, you're an inside candidate instead of an outside candidate. But absolutely, you know, you want to go and get that experience if you have to start working and you can't relocate or you don't want to wait to start your job. So you'll get that experience and then be able to transfer into the specialty that you want.
And now we'll hand it over to Tiffany Gibson. Thank you, Ashley. That was excellent. Excellent.
Of course. I'm so sorry about my connection.
We're all good. All good.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiff Gibson. I am a clinical nurse educator and a board certified nurse professional development specialist. And I'm out here in the Philadelphia area. Like Ashley, I am a peds nurse and worked in a pediatric unit for 10 years. I'm currently in nursing leadership as an educator, as well as a diversity and inclusion advocate. And fun facts about me, when I was in high school, I did a student exchange program and lived in Cape Town, South Africa for 2 months. And I've never, ever forgotten that experience. And high school was a long time ago for me. So definitely follow me on New Nurse Academy, where I provide tips and techniques on professional development, emotional intelligence, and diversity and inclusion in healthcare, because to me, the clinical skills in nursing does not make a total nurse. You have to know all about the other things. Ashley spoke a lot about soft skills and transferable skills, and that's really what's going to get you to growth in nursing and getting you to liking your job, right? And so that's what I do over at New Nurse Academy. And so again, I'm a nurse educator after being a pediatric nurse for 10 years because I learned to align my profession, my purpose, and my passion to make sure that I love what I do every day when I get up. I know that my gift is in teaching and in making complex nursing content very simple, strategic, and clear. That is my knack. And because of that, I am now an educator. And so with that, in mastering my gift and knowing what my knack is all about emotional intelligence. And that's my favorite quote. Mastering emotional intelligence is the key to success. If you know about yourself, if you are self-aware about your moods, your thoughts, and how they influence your behavior, especially as a nurse, then life is golden after that. So I'm going to talk about best practices for interviewing. Ashley did an amazing job with giving you tips on how to get to the door, right? And so especially with getting your resume together, with networking, that's giving you the invitation to the party. Now that you're at the party, you need to sell yourself so you can land the job. And so first and foremost, research. What is the role that you're looking for? I know a lot of nursing students right now are looking at just anything that's available and kind of going for the first thing that's out there, but you really want to be mindful about the role that you are taking. Is it something that you want to do? Do you understand the expectations that's coming with this role? Do you want to work night shift? Are you the type of nurse that gets sick to the stomach with staying up past midnight? Then maybe you don't want to apply for this job because you're not going to do your best, and that's not going to give a good impression on your manager. And you may end up having discipline because of, your performance. So you want to really research your role and figure out, is this something that you want to do? Also, with that being said, you can always transfer. So if it doesn't work out and you don't have discipline, you can go to another unit, you can transfer to another role, you can get a job somewhere else. You are not married to that first job that you take out of nursing school. There's so much opportunity for growth in nursing. Ashley also mentioned knowing what the hospital's mission, vision, and value is, but you want to research that on purpose because in your interviewing and while you're having a conversation, you want to bring that up. However, you also want to make sure that the hospital's mission, vision, and value is in alignment with yours. And that's really important. Not only is the hospital interviewing you, but you should be interviewing the hospital as well. This is a mutual relationship. You are spending 36 to 40 hours to 60 hours if you're working overtime at this institution. You want to make sure that this is where you want to be. And so if you have strong Catholic values, and you know that about yourself, and you're working at a hospital that performs abortion all the time, and that's not something that aligns with your core value, you will want to know that ahead of time, right? And so you just want to be mindful about mission, vision, and values. One of the most memorable interviews that I've done not too long ago, I hired 18 nurse externs at my hospital, and one of the candidates actually incorporated my hospital's mission into his statement on why he wanted to work with us. And that was so impressive. And I literally said, "You're hired." Like, that to me blew my socks off. He was also military, and so he combined the Marines mission with our missions and wrapped it up in a bow about why he wanted to work for us. And I literally was like, "You got it. You got the job." And so you want to do your research and incorporate your findings in your conversation when you're doing your interview. And then reputation. So I saw a lot of questions in the chat about culture and how do you look up culture and what that means. So the culture of the hospital is basically the hospital's belief system and their reputation and how they behave and their perception, right? You can look that up anywhere. But here's the thing about reviews. People leave reviews when they're emotional. Either they're upset because something didn't go their way and their expectations weren't met, or they were so impressed and the service blew them out of the water that they wanted to leave a great reviews. Reviews are usually bipolar, right? They're at the ends of the spectrum. You're hardly ever going to find reviews that are in the middle, like, "Yeah, this is a good place." But you really want to use your social media. Hospitals have different type of review systems, like Leapfrog and things of that nature, where you can go in and get a sense of the health system or get a sense of the hospital. If you were to mention a hospital's name, there's a hospital out here in Philadelphia, for example. If you say that name, everybody's like, "Oh, that's not a good reputation." And because of that, would you want to work there? Because if the public's perception is that bad of the hospital, well, what's actually happening inside? And do you want to be a part of that? So you definitely want to do your research. Secondly, in your interview, brag about yourself. This is your time to shine. Why do I want to hire you? And that, I ask that question blatantly all the time, and people stumble over that answer. You should know for sure and have your pitch ready. Everybody should have the elevator pitch. Pitches are not just for business people in the corporate world. How do you sell yourself to me in 60 seconds or less that lets me say, "That's really interesting," or "I want to know more," or "Tell me about that"? You want to be your biggest seller, your biggest advocate. You want to be your own PR and marketing and advertising. And so how you do that is illustrate your soft skills. And so regardless if you've had a job before, if it was in healthcare, if your job is being a full-time mom every day, all day, illustrate that, because you know what that means. You are managing, you are delegating, you are multitasking, right? And you need to be able to speak on how these things that cannot be taught, that you already know how to do, can help the unit or be a great asset to you as a nurse. And that's how you're going to be able to stand out. So regardless of what your background is, and another thing, we all know that your clinical experience is not what it used to be because of COVID. We all know that. The past 6 months has been topsy-turvy for everybody, so we will not hold that against you. And like Ashley said, I can teach you to put in an IV. I can teach you to pull in a Foley. I can teach you all the clinical skills that you need to know. That's what your orientation is about, right? But I can't teach you how to show up to work on time and be punctual. I cannot teach you to not be the negative Nancy on the unit. I cannot teach you to not be the Debbie Downer. You have to have that already. One of the things that I know I look for when I'm interviewing is if I can have an easy conversation with this person, then I know that this person will be a great member of the team. Right? I want to be able to have a conversation with you and not just ask you a list of questions and have it be an interrogation. So you want to think about that during your interview, right? And that will make you stand out. I will remember a conversation more where there was bi-directional dialogue and communication versus me just asking questions and just getting some answers back. Okay, that will definitely make you stand out at the end. And oh, another tip, send thank yous, whether email or stationary. Preferably stationary because no one writes handwritten notes anymore. But after your interview, if you can send a thank you within 24 to 48 hours, just appreciating the other person for taking the time out to talk with you, to interview you, to allow you to shadow on the unit, to give you that informational interview, that is impressive because that's something that not everybody is doing. So if you feel like your resume itself doesn't stand out, do something different afterwards. Okay. And then number 3, ask questions. Again, engage in conversation. You are interviewing the job as much as they are interviewing you. It should be an honor for them to have you work for them. And so you want to know about them. So ask all the questions. At the end of your interview, when the interviewer asks, is there anything else? Never say no. Never, ever, 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 ever say no. Why? Because you've never worked there before. You know nothing about this place. You know nothing about the job. You want to ask all the questions for clarification. You want to ask the interviewer, what got you here? How long have you been here? What is your highlight of the day? What is one thing that you can improve? You want to ask them about their education and their growth and development. You can also ask clarifying questions about, does the hospital support community service and mission leave? Does the hospital have a tuition reimbursement program? I'm currently, a nurse with my ADN and I want to go back and get my BSN. How will the hospital support me with that? Would I be able to go to conferences and workshops and things of that nature? What does your succession planning look like? There are tons of questions to ask. You should never leave a conversation and or an interview without asking the final question. You want to have the final question, and that's how you become memorable. And if you can't think of a question, compliment the other person on what they're wearing. Listen, you want to have the other person laugh and be comfortable. You want to have your interviewer smile. And so if you can't think of any more questions, let them know that that shirt is amazing on them. You love their makeup. The earrings are great. Like, give a compliment. If you can get the interviewer to talk about themselves in an interview, I guarantee you they're going to remember you. All right, so we did the poll for mentorship, and these are the results. And 23 of you all said that you are looking for a mentor, and then the next runner up was you don't know how to find one, which is okay, and that's fine. So Ashley talks about networking and how that is the highest level of actively going out to get a job. And your mentor will be someone that can help you do that. And so right now I'm going to just talk about networking, education, and investment as it relates to mentorship. So if you don't know how to find a mentor, you want to be have intention on who that person is going to be. And it doesn't need to be formal. It's not like it's an application or another job interview where it's a formal relationship. Mentors can be someone that you admire from afar and you watch them work and you see how they move and operate and you've read their books and you take tips that way. Or it could be someone that you actually have a relationship with, a connection with. You talk to them very often, you speak with them often. Your mentorship can go either way. But your mentor ideally is going to be someone who has been where you are and someone who is where you want to be, because they're going to have the answers and the ability to help walk you through it. And there's a difference between a mentor and a coach. All right. A coach is going to be very strategic and give you bullet points on what you need to do for that moment or that particular segment in time. Whereas a mentor is someone that's going to be with you over time and it's going to be more of a long-standing relationship. Nothing wrong with having a coach. That relationship normally ends after you've reached your goal or after you've finished your project and things of that nature, whereas a mentorship is more ongoing. And so your mentor is going to help you with networking, okay? When you're networking, you want to be deliberate. When you're in a space when you're meeting new people and you are meeting people who have the ability and or the authority to hire you or write a letter of recommendation, you want to go in there with a plan in mind and specifically target who you want to meet, why you want to meet them, and what you want to say. You should never walk into a networking event and think it's just a party. You want to be intentional about leaving your contact information and getting their contact information and following up within 24 hours. It was so great meeting you yesterday on the Zoom. I really enjoyed talking with you. I'm free this Friday. I would love to hop on another call so we could talk more about X. Right? You want to be intentional in making these relationships, and your mentor can help you with that because they're going to introduce you to people. They're going to socialize you. They're going to say, hey, this is Tiffany. She's my, my new grad mentee. She's looking for a job, and they're going to connect you with their contacts. They're going to expose you to new opportunities and new people, and they're going to give you the inside scoop of what's going on before it makes it to the external job networking site on the hospital's webpage. They'll probably know about it ahead of time. And so that's how your mentor can help you. In regards to education, your mentor is going to have a slew of education because they've been in the game for a while. So they'll be able to drop behind the scene gems and know-how, things to do and what not to do as it relates to preparing for a job, what to say in an interview, what happens during your first couple of weeks of orientation. And they're going to be your go-to for advice, because you want to go to someone who you trust and who you know have been down this road before. It's hard to get advice from your friends when you and your friends are in the same boat, because that is the blind leading the blind. And so you want to make sure that you utilize your mentor and pick their brain. That's what they're there for. And then lastly, a mentor is an investment. Okay, whether or not you're actually paying for a mentorship program, or you're reading books, or you have a great relationship with the nurse manager on your unit, you're going to see a return in your investment very, very soon if you utilize your mentor adequately, because they're going to show you and give you experience. They're going to be your cheerleader. They're going to be your, I like what you said, Ashley, about you are the nurse for nurses, because I say that also, like, I'm the nurse's nurse. I'm who the nurse goes to when they need resources and they need references and they need to vent. My office door is always open and I always have candy. And so people come to me all the time, but that's what I'm there for, to give them that leg up. And to give them that you can do it. And yes, that was a bad shift, or yes, I'm sorry, your patient died. But it's the encouragement piece that helps you build resilience. And it's free education and knowledge. Like, why not? Build your network, because it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know that's going to get you in rooms, right? So you definitely want to be mindful about that. And so some of the advice that Ashley and I have come up with are these three tips. For every opportunity that you have to grow professionally, take it. All right. And so we already mentioned being a part of a professional nursing network for job opportunities, but also for continuing education. Nursing is a profession. It is a career that is ever evolving, that is ever growing. And things that I learned in nursing school have improved, or we're no longer doing it now. Technology is different. Things are just changing. And when you are part of a national professional organization, you get that information ahead of time. Reading journal articles, being a part of LinkedIn groups, being a part of social media groups, going to conferences and webinars, and being intentional about your continuing education is going to be key. If you can do this now while you are still a student, that's going to be a leg up on your resume, because not a lot of students are going to national conferences. Not a lot of students are a part of national professional organizations, which, by the way, normally have a student discount. And so you want to get on that while you're still a student and get a discount on your membership fees. But that's a leg up for me, because that shows me that you are serious about the profession, that nursing is not just a job and nursing is not just a task. To me, when I see that on a resume, you are thinking about growth, about development, and about being a profession and the culture of nursing. And so that to me is the number one tip. Ashley, do you want to do the rest?
Yes, that is excellent, Tiff. I couldn't agree more with everything that you have said. So a couple more little pieces of advice for you guys. So making the most of your first role, continue to build that network of support and contacts for the future in that first job. So like Tiff was saying, you know, if you get really close with your manager or maybe a clinical nurse specialist on the unit, your educator, your preceptor, you know, get to know those people. And beyond that, get to know some nurses on some of the other units in the hospital as well. Gain, you know, that broad perspective from people. And then you always, you know, you have somebody to call when you have those questions. The bigger that your network of support is, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to have somebody to call, you know, in any given situation. And what's really nice is that you get to return this favor for other people too. You know, you get to be the person that people call with a question or a need, and you can be that person for other people too. And again, any contacts that you can make for the future, it's just going to help to build it up for your next role. And then the last one is to seek feedback, ask questions, and set goals. So seek feedback as often as you can. Say, you know, what am I doing really well and what do I need to work on? When you ask this question of someone, they're like taken aback the first time. They're like, my goodness, okay, it just like Tiffany was talking about before, this is a piece of emotional intelligence, and it is something that will jettison your career light years ahead if you seek feedback every opportunity that you can. You always have to take criticism through the lens of, you know, the person that's giving it to you, but there's almost always, you know, a little nugget that you can take with you. So take that and run with it and learn something from it. Ask all the questions that you can. There are no stupid questions. So everything from, you know, clinical stuff to professional development, and set goals for yourself. You know, it's great to, you know, I want you to enjoy whatever now that you're in, but always look, you know, for that next thing. Always, you know, be reaching for your next goal. I remember when I started as a PICU nurse, I wrote down a couple things that I knew that I wanted to accomplish in my time there, like be a charge nurse, be a preceptor, get my certifications, start my master's. And now to look back at that piece of paper and know, you know, that I was able to check all of those off, and now I'm moving on to, you know, other goals, it's amazing to look back on and see. But when you write down a goal and you write down the steps to get there, you are much more likely to make that goal come true. So highly recommend writing it down, setting them, and reaching them.
I want to also just follow up with that seek feedback. If you ever apply for a job and do not get the job, go back to that recruiter and ask them, can you give me some advice on ways that I can improve? Not necessarily why didn't I get the job, because they may not give you the honest truth and that's what you're looking for. But if you ask them, can you give me some tips on how to improve for the next time? Because that's going to help you. Feedback is a gift. I don't know what to change if you don't tell me what's wrong, and I'm going to continue to do the wrong thing and then wonder why I'm not getting any results. So you want to ask for the feedback and take your emotions out of it, please. Please, 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 please. Do not let emotions drive that bus.
Mm-hmm.
You are asking for feedback so that you can improve upon yourself, because you always want to work in your improvement zone. You always want to strive for the next level and for the next best thing. And so you don't know what you don't know, and that's why you're asking for the feedback. And however harsh it is, you say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the feedback, and take from that what you need so that you can grow and improve.
Awesome. That was great, Tiffany. Thank you so much. We had a couple of questions come in on the chat that I'm going to read aloud to you. One question from Melissa: is it possible to overdo it when selling yourself? How do you make sure that you come across authentic and not sort of cross the line in talking about yourself in an interview?
That's a great question. And so how are you authentic in an interview and not overdo it? Don't be cheesy. Don't be phony. You will know that you're overdoing it because you're trying too hard and you're pushing too hard and you're trying to find what you think the other person wants to hear, instead of just saying, hey, this is Tiff and this is me and this is how I do things. You want to be your authentic self. And anytime you meet someone for the first time, your representative shows up. And then after time, when you feel comfortable with them and you start to break down your walls and you let down your guard, and then you become your true self. You definitely don't want to be so extra comfortable in an interview that you lack professionalism. However, you want to be mindful about who you are at your core. And that's why knowing your own mission, vision, and values is important. And that's something that I teach my mentees. Every corporation has those things, right? Their mission, vision, values. You should have one for yourself. You are a business, you are a brand. You should have one for yourself. And so if you feel like you are just hamming it up because you feel like it sounds good, I guarantee you the other person can sense that.
Awesome. Awesome. So we had a question come in that I think is probably one we often wonder about, and it's about strengths and weaknesses questions. So when a manager or an interviewer asks you about that, what is a good way to think about how to respond?
Strengths and weaknesses should be an answer that you already have, should be a question you have an answer to before you even go into the interview, because every time you interview, they're going to ask you that question. So you should already know that. And be honest. If you have a problem with time management, say that. if your strength is being a people person, say that. And you can, and all your strengths can be weaknesses as well, depending. It's all about perception. You never want to say, I don't know what my strengths are and I don't know what my weaknesses are, because to me that's not self-aware, and that doesn't show that you have good emotional intelligence. You also never want to say you don't have any weaknesses, because that's a lie. That's a whole lie. Everybody does. But for example, if you say that you are a people person and you love talking to people, that can also be a weakness in that you spend so much time relating to people and talking to people that you lose track of time, and that you're unable to stay on top of your task on a timely manner because you spend so much time with your patients. So you want to think about how your strengths can also be a weakness as well. For me, I'm very assertive. I like to take initiative. I'm a very assertive person. I'm a go-getter, which is great. But on the flip side, sometimes I rush too much and I don't take time to look at details, right? And I don't take time to process things and really take it in. So that's one way to think about your strengths and your weaknesses.
Great. That's awesome. We have one last question from the group, and that is on salary. When do you think it's appropriate as a new grad to bring that into the conversation? Do you think that's something that should be talked about during the interview?
You talk about salary after you get the offer. To me, that's my thing. So you can ask a generalized question. What is the rate for new grads? They'll give you a number or a range. But in regards to negotiation, let's get the offer first and let's see what they offer you, and then you can take it from there. You don't want to lose the opportunity of landing the job because you're talking about money way too soon. So during the interview, you can ask a generalization about the range for pay. And are there bonuses? Is there extra incentive if I have a specialty certification? Things of that nature. Generalized question to give you an idea. Once you get the offer and they say, we have, offered you a position in our MICU and this is the pay, then from there you can go into negotiation talks.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
So in the last few minutes that we have, I wanted to run through quickly a few tools that you all have at your disposal, in addition to everything that Ashley and Tiffany talked about. These are three tools that if you have a trusted profile, you can access today, that will help you prepare and you manage the journey to your first job. So the first of these, if you want to click onto the next slide, Nicole, is Resume Builder. So a lot of people don't know this, but actually, if you have a trusted profile and you complete it, it's truly as simple as completing a LinkedIn or a Facebook profile. You can actually click this blue download button highlighted on the screen here and get a really polished resume exported right away. So this is a great thing to do if you don't like tinkering with font size and margins and knowing what looks polished and professional or not. This allows you to actually focus on the content, focus on getting the right words to describe your experience. The second tool I wanted to just quickly cover is our Salary Explorer. So you heard it here from both Ashley and Tiffany. It is a great thing to do your research before an interview. Get a sense for, you know, in the city that you're interested in working in, what is a reasonable hourly rate for a nurse, and also what facilities are hiring nurses in that region. This will prepare you well for those conversations around negotiation that come later on in the interview process. And then the third and last tool, this is especially great for those new grad or recent grads who are looking for residency programs in particular. We actually have a residency program search on the Trusted platform where you're able to search by city and see which facilities are actively hiring for nurse residencies. I've kind of blown it up on the screen here. You can see the specialties they're hiring for and even get a link to the hospital website to apply directly there. So yes, if you don't have a Trusted profile, I encourage you to check it out and, you know, use these tools on your journey to find that right first job for you. And I will hand it back over to Nicole.
Thank you, Ella, and thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. New grads, we are rooting for you. We're excited for you to take your first nursing role. We know it's a tough situation right now, but we know you're also going to persevere just like so many others. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful. We have lots more virtual events in the works. We'd also really love your feedback on this event. So you're going to get an email in the next 20 to 30 minutes asking for feedback. Please share good, bad, and indifferent. We really do want to hear it so we can craft more events for you that are best fit and will help you along your journey, whether you're a new grad nurse or you're looking for your next residency. That's it. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you all soon. Good night, y'all.